Yep, it's me again, no rocket science build guy. Don't mean to be patronizing to builders, that's cool, but this channel is mainly for people like myself who's gonna experience. Anyway, and we can learn from each other. So here, basically, what I'm doing is I'm actually dusting down the plasterboards just to get rid of any remaining dusts and whatnot. Only so that when the bonding coat goes on it, then it binds well. But also, it's important to have a look at that because that's like before and after. So this is the before, well, kind of before, but after the butchering, the murder that took place on the ceiling. But yeah, so anyway, next, what I'm doing is basically my feeble effort left a huge gap everywhere. But anyway, in particular, the one in the ceiling, two in particular, but one in the ceiling where the two boards weren't meeting because I erroneously cut them short, or shorter than I should have. So I should have measured it twice. Anyway, never mind. So what I've done is that I've actually taken a offcut, big enough to fill the gap, and yet big enough to sit on the boards. So essentially, what I've done on, I've actually plastered it with PVA, almost half and half PVA mixed, and I'll just slip that through the gap, and then I'll just rest it onto the boards, and hopefully I'll wait for the PVA to kick in, and you'll just grab hold of the remaining boards and you'll stick onto it. Never mind though, because I'm also going to apply jointing tape between the boards and that particular piece I'm just putting up, as you can see. That way you'll add additional strength. So that's something that I do. Anyway, that worked, as you can see. Wear gloves because it's a tacky job. Yeah, cool. Just making sure that it's sitting well. Now that should do the job. Anyway, what I've done next is that, actually I'll show you the close-up. Yeah, so that's what it is basically. That's what I meant to do when I did that. Right, over there and there, yeah, loads of gaps. Right, I'll come to that in a bit anyway. Looks much better now, isn't it, now that it's in place? Right, so what I'm doing here is actually I'm just PVAing the edges because I will be binding, joining the edges with jointing tape, and so it's really important to make sure that it's dust free and whatnot. Now, yeah, that's what I've done essentially. I do plan to PVA the entire thing, but not at this point. So my priority is now getting on the jointing tape, and actually letting that dry, letting the PVA dry. Otherwise, your jointing tape won't sit on. You could do it when it's tacky. That'll work because the PVA, stickiness will be enough for it to bind it. However, whilst the PVA is still wet, and if you try to apply the jointing tape, it's not going to grab. So how do I know? Because I tried it many times, and I still tried it again. Silly Billy me. But anyway, yeah, tried it again this time, and it didn't work. So I had to sit around for a while. But anyway, I was doing other stuff in the meantime, and when it dried sufficiently, I was then able to get the jointing tape on eventually. Uh, on the next clip, I'll show you what it looks like. A lot better than this. So yeah, it's a big improvement. It's important to put the jointing tape because that way, because obviously with the house, all houses move, and especially the ceiling, and they tend to move a lot. So what the jointing tape will do, it will actually keep everything in place, hold it together if you like, and then you won't see any cracks between the plasterboards. Not only that, I think jointing tape also allow you to fill massive gaps like those you can see where you can't stuff a plasterboard in and stuff like that, or even expanding foam. I do use expanding foam though, and I'll show you that on the next clip. Okay, so basically here I've used the expanding foam, and I've also done the jointing tape. As you can see further down and there, basically I've applied the jointing tape, and that's done. That's okay. It's yeah. So anyway, the expanding foam was a mess. It didn't go well for a number of reasons, and I talked about it in my previous video. I think partly to do with the fact that the background, sorry, there was nothing for the expanding foam to grab onto due to dust and so on. And I couldn't squirt water only because you've got electrical wires running behind the ceiling, so you don't want to obviously mess with electrics and water. They don't go together, as you know. Anyway, right, so that's what it is. I just applied it, and hence why that piece on your top left hand corner there just fell. You can see it's working and it's fresh. So once it's dried, I will cut it and shape it and so on. They're expensive, and unfortunately, you tend to use up far more than you realize. So I'm not a big fan of that. I'll be honest with you. Alternative, yep, definitely. Now, I've used my one can that I had, but that wasn't enough to fill the rest. So I've managed to work out a suggestion. Well, the number of you suggested few other things, and I kind of tried that. Some worked, some didn't, but some again, what I've done is I had spare corner tape. I actually got it initially for another job, and that didn't go well, so I decided to keep it for this in particular. Now I've actually yeah, so I've applied corner tape instead, and I have a clip to show you a bit later on. And yeah, and one thing is, guys, there are many ways of doing this job. Okay, so I respect that you have your ways, and obviously, I'm coming from a novice background, but not only that, I'm coming from more of a naturalistic
This is
background.
the gap that
So
I'm
yeah,
filling. Uh, I cover. Remember, I put stuck a plasterboard up there initially. So I don't know how else to do it. Maybe so the experts can tell me how I should have done it, could have done it. But this is the way I'm doing it right now because I gotta get this done. Yeah, that's what happens when you do put a big lump in there. It just, give me that. It just comes. I mean, it just the gravity is just pulling it down, so it's not working out well. Basically, so what I'm doing, I'm just building it up. I know I'm just doing a little bit at a time. All I'm doing is just gathering. I'll do it again. So pick up some mud on the bottom of it, and you, like, go here, for example, or there. Just doing that, and the idea is let that dry for a bit, and then I'll stick more, and so on. This way, I will fill this space. I'm sure there are other ways of doing it, but anyway, it's working. Look at it, it's working. So I'll show you once it's done. You can be the judge.
as you can see, I've resorted to building a bridge between the ceiling and the wall using jointing tape. That way I can fill over it, and then that's the end of it. So that worked. Now that gap is coming up again. Here it is. What I've done is I've applied a jointing tape over it again just to add additional strength, even though I've done that once. So I will fill it one more time, but this time I'll fill it with the rest with a bonding coat. Okay, so next, it's important. Oh, it shrunk, so that's fine. It's important that any remaining floating screw heads are buried or sunk in. That way, the trowel floats with ease, and you get a better finish. also it's important to scrape off ridges and so on and debris. Now, whenever, as you can see right there and there, the dark patch there, that was a gap. So the screening tape, it allows you to actually fill those gaps, and then so it's fantastic. It acts as a bridge. I love it. And then next, obviously, I'll apply the bonding coat before I apply the finish coat. So okay, what I'm doing here is that I'm actually I just just apply I just dab in plaster using the butt end of the trowel, and then what I'll do is I'll actually apply the corner tape to fill that gap. You shall see that shortly. Now that worked well for me, I have to say. I've done it just over the top of the screen towards the right hand side. You can see where I've done it previously. Now I'm concerned with the movement in the future because obviously ceilings will move, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. Not good, I don't think. But anyway, it's done the job now. It worked wonders, I have to say. So here it is. Yeah, basically one hand job kind of thing. It's done the trick. You'll see. And yes, I was rushing right there and there, and hence why I actually made a bit of a mess. Actually, smudged some of the plaster with my fingers, but that's fine. It doesn't matter. I'll fix it tomorrow. I'll try over it with the final coat and all the rest of it. So it's not a problem. It's a work in progress. I've come a long way considering the situation that we had on our hand. Yeah, dire situation, wasn't it? Yeah, there we go. It worked, hasn't it? And so I continue with the rest of the walls. Now here and there, what I've done is I've actually gone over it with some mud. You could do that, and I decided towards the end not to do that only because my plaster was drying quicker than I expected, and that's because it took me ages to do that. Well, it's just time consuming this. So because of that, I decided to just apply the first bit of plaster, sorry, plaster mix, and then get that tape to grab onto it, and then tomorrow I could do that, finish it off. So once it grabs on and then it's stuck to the wall and the ceiling to give me that finished look kind of thing, then I can work with it and I can finish it. I can blend it and feather it and all the rest of it. That's not a problem. So yeah, basically it's about being pragmatic and working out ways that you can overcome what you have in your hand. I know I'm not a plasterer, but I have to use ways that I can problem solve. And some of the guys been fantastic here. A lot of the guys they've given me fantastic tips actually on YouTube, especially to do with this particular problem. Now, expanding foam was a popular one, but I've decided not to follow that through only because it doesn't get a good finish. Nowhere near as good as this anyway. Anyway, here's the final product. Well, end result, more like. There we go. And now, as I was saying earlier on, towards the end, I decided to just leave the second coat or the floating coat over it due to time. But it's fine. Tomorrow I'll finish it off. Now, right there and there, remember this is where I created the bridge using joining tape. Now I've actually feathered in the ends, and that will, by the time, it will give it enough time for it to uh, grab onto, and then I can fill the main body or the empty space with plaster with ease. That's the reason why I did it. So I have something to hold on to rather than just stickiness from the tape itself. Actually, it's looking miles better, isn't it? Just go to the start and see the difference between what it was and to this. It's a working improvement.